$427. That's what the dealership just quoted me for a brake job that takes 45 minutes and costs $80 in parts. What if I told you that you could do this yourself, even if you've never touched a wrench before? I'm about to walk you through every single step of replacing brake pads and rotors. No confusing jargon, no skipped steps, and I'll show you exactly what to do when things don't go as planned. By the end of this video, you'll have the confidence to save yourself hundreds of dollars every time you need new brakes. And trust me, this is way easier than you think. If you're ready to never pay for overpriced brake jobs again, hit that subscribe button right now. We post money-saving car tutorials every Tuesday and Friday. Real quick, if you can follow a recipe or assemble IKEA furniture, you can do this. I don't care if you've never changed your own oil. This tutorial is designed for complete beginners. Here's what we're covering today. We're replacing both the brake pads and the rotors on the front wheels. This is the most common brake job you'll ever do. I'm using a 2018 Honda Civic, but this process works for 90% of cars out there. The parts might look slightly different, but the steps are identical. Before we start, you need three things: the right tools, the right parts, and about 45 minutes per wheel once you know what you're doing. Your first time? Give yourself 2 hours. Don't rush this. Here's your shopping list. You need a lug wrench or impact wrench, a socket set with ratchet. You'll need 14mm and 17mm sockets for most cars. A C-clamp or brake caliper tool. This is $12 any auto parts store. Jack and jack stands, never just a jack. We'll talk about why. Bungee cord or wire hanger, brake cleaner spray, anti-seize lubricant, gloves, brake dust is nasty stuff, and a wire brush. For parts, you need new brake pads and new rotors. I got mine from AutoZone, the mid-grade ceramic pads and standard rotors. Total cost, $78. Don't cheap out on the bottom-tier pads, but you also don't need the $200 performance set unless you're tracking your car. Middle grade is perfect. Drop a comment right now and tell me what car you're working on. I want to see if we've got Hondas, Toyotas, Fords. What are you driving? Okay, before we touch anything, let's talk safety. This is not optional. Brakes are life safety equipment. One mistake here could mean your brakes fail, so we're doing this right. First, park on level ground, not a driveway with a slope, not on grass, flat, solid pavement or concrete. Put your car in park if it's an automatic, first gear if it's manual. Next, we're only working on the front brakes today, so the rear wheels stay on the ground. Put wheel chocks or wooden blocks behind both rear wheels. This prevents the car from rolling backward when we jack it up. Before you jack up the car, loosen your lug nuts about a half turn while the wheel is still on the ground. If you wait until it's in the air, the wheel will just spin. Trust me on this. Now here's where people get hurt. Never, and I mean never, work under a car supported only by a jack. Jacks fail. Jack stands don't. Find your car's jack point, it's in your owner's manual. Lift the car with the jack, then immediately slide a jack stand under the frame rail. Lower the car onto the stand. The jack is just a helper. The stand holds the weight. Do the same on the other side. Both front wheels off the ground, both on jack stands. Give the car a shake. If it moves, reposition your stance. If it's solid, we're ready to work. Removing the wheel. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Finish removing those lug nuts you loosened earlier. Put them somewhere safe, like a magnetic tray or a cup. Losing a lug nut is a rookie mistake I've definitely never made. Pull the wheel straight toward you. It might be stuck from rust. Give it a kick from behind if you need to. And there we go. This is your first look at the brake assembly. See? Not that scary. That silver disc is the rotor. That metal clamp on top is the caliper. The pads are hidden inside the caliper. We're about to meet them. Quick crash course. When you hit the brake pedal, brake fluid pushes pistons inside the caliper. Those pistons squeeze the brake pads against the rotor, and friction slows you down. Simple, right? Our job is to remove the caliper so we can access the pads and rotor. Flip under the caliper. You'll see two bolts holding it to the bracket. These are usually 14mm or 17mm. Check your car's specs, but try a 14mm first. These bolts can be tight. If your ratchet isn't budging them, use a breaker bar or a cheater pipe. That's a piece of pipe that slides over your wrench handle for extra leverage. Once they break loose, remove both bolts completely. Keep them safe, you're reusing these. Now the caliper is free, but don't let it hang by the brake line. That rubber hose is under pressure, and if you stretch or kink it, you'll have a brake fluid leak. Not fun. Instead, use a bungee cord or wire hanger to hang the caliper from the suspension or strut. Just get the weight off the brake line. Now pull out the old brake pads. They're usually held in by spring clips. Just slide them out. See how thin these are? New pads are about 12mm thick. These are down to 3mm. That's why we're here. If your pads are worn unevenly, like one is way thinner than the other, you might have a sticking caliper. That's a separate issue, but drop a comment if that's happening and I'll make a video on that. All right, the biggest mistake people make is coming up in about 30 seconds. Don't skip this part. See that metal frame the caliper was bolted to? That's the caliper bracket. It's held on by two bigger bolts, usually 17mm or 19mm. These bolts are really tight because they hold the whole system in place. You'll definitely need a breaker bar for these. Once they're out, the bracket lifts right off. Now for the rotor. Sometimes it just slides off. Sometimes it's rusted on like it's welded there. Yep, this one's stuck. Here's the secret mechanics don't tell you. Hit it with a rubber mallet from behind. Rotate it and hit it in different spots. If that doesn't work, spray penetrating oil around the hub. Wait 5 minutes and try again. There we go. Look at that. Grooves, rust, uneven wear. This rotor is done. Here's the mistake I warned you about. Do not put a new rotor on a dirty hub. See all this rust and gunk? If you mount the new rotor on this, it won't sit flush. That causes vibration, uneven wear, and a pulsing brake pedal. Grab your wire brush and clean this hub surface until you see bare metal. Spray it with brake cleaner and wipe it down. Perfect. If you learned something new just now, hit that like button. It helps other DIYers find this video. All right, we're halfway done, and this next step is the easiest. Grab your new rotor. But first, see this oily coating? That's a rust preventative from the factory. You must clean it off with brake cleaner, or your brakes will be slippery and weak for the first few stops. Both sides. Don't skip this. Now, slide the rotor onto the hub. It should sit perfectly flat. Some people use a thread lock screw to hold it in place temporarily. It's not required. The wheel holds it on, but it makes life easier. Grab the caliper bracket and line it up with the bolt holes. Thread in the two big bolts by hand first. This prevents cross-threading. Then tighten them down with your socket wrench. These need to be tight. Torque spec is usually around 85 to 95 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, just make them really snug. Before we put everything back together, put a thin layer of anti-seize on the bracket where the pads sit. This prevents squeaking and makes future brake jobs easier. Just a little bit. Don't go crazy. Okay, here's the deal. Your old pads were thin, so the caliper pistons were extended out to reach them. Your new pads are thick, so we need to push those pistons back into the caliper to make room. This is where your C-clamp or caliper tool comes in. Before you do this, open your brake fluid reservoir under the hood. As you compress the piston, brake fluid gets pushed back into the reservoir, and if the cap is on, you could damage the system. Also, use a turkey baster or fluid syringe to remove some old fluid if the reservoir is full. You don't want it overflowing. Now, place the C-clamp on the caliper, one side on the back of the piston, one side on the back of the caliper body. Slowly tighten the clamp. You'll see the piston slowly push back into the caliper. This takes some force, but it should move. If it's not moving, your caliper might be seized. That's a bigger problem. Once it's fully compressed, remove the clamp. Grab your new brake pads. They usually come with shims or anti-rattle clips. Keep those on. And slowly slide the pads into the bracket on either side of the rotor. They should click into the bracket slides where you applied anti-seize. Make sure they're seated fully. Give them a wiggle. They should be snug but able to move slightly. Now, lower the caliper back over the pads and rotor. Line up the bolt holes. Thread in the caliper bolts by hand, then tighten them down. Torque spec is usually 25 to 35 foot-pounds. Not super tight, but snug. Remove the bungee cord. Your caliper is back in place. And just like that, one side is done. See? You're already a brake technician. Comment below. Are you doing this along with me right now? Let me know. All right, almost there. Just 2 more things and you're done. Now, repeat everything we just did on the other front wheel. I'm not going to bore you by walking through it again. You've got this. Just follow the same steps. Remove caliper. Remove bracket. Remove old rotor. Clean the hub. Install new rotor. Reinstall bracket. Compress piston. Install new pads. Reinstall caliper. Take your time. This isn't a race. Once both sides are done, put your wheels back on. Thread the lug nuts on by hand first. Tighten them in a star pattern, not in a circle. This ensures even pressure. Snug them down, but don't fully torque them yet. We need the car on the ground for that. Carefully jack up each side just enough to remove the jack stands, then lower the car all the way down. Now, torque your lug nuts to spec, usually 80 to 100 foot-pounds depending on your car. If you don't have a torque wrench, tighten them as much as you can with your lug wrench. Bedding in brakes and testing. Do not skip this next part. Before you drive anywhere, pump your brake pedal. Remember, we compressed the caliper pistons all the way back. Right now, if you tried to stop, the pedal would go to the floor because the pistons need to extend back out to contact the pads. Pump the pedal 10 to 15 times. You'll feel it get firmer as the pistons move into position. Check your brake fluid reservoir under the hood and top it off if needed. Close the cap. Now here's something most people don't know. New pads and rotors need to be bedded in. That means you need to do a series of controlled stops to transfer a thin layer pad material onto the rotor. Here's how. Find an empty road or parking lot. Accelerate to 30 miles per hour, then brake firmly, not slamming, but firm, down to 5 miles per hour. Do this 8 to 10 times with 30 seconds of cruising in between to let the brakes cool. Then do 3 to 5 stops from 50 miles per hour down to 10 miles per hour. Again, firm braking, not emergency stops. After that, drive normally for a few miles without heavy braking to let everything cool completely. For the first 100 miles, pay attention. Your brakes should feel firm and responsive. If the pedal feels spongy, you might have air in the lines. You'll need to bleed the brakes. I'm making a video on that next week, so subscribe if you haven't already. If you hear grinding or squealing that doesn't go away after bedding, double check that you removed the factory coating from the rotors. All right, let's take a moment here. Do you realize what you just did? You just completed a job that 95% of car owners pay someone else to do. You saved $300, $400, maybe more. You learned a skill that'll save you thousands over the life of your car. And next time, this is going to take you half the time. That's the power of DIY. And here's the thing. Over 10,000 subscribers have done their first brake job using this video. You're now part of that club. Drop a comment right now and let me know how it went. What car did you work on? Did you run into any issues? I read every single comment and I'll help you troubleshoot if you need it. So we covered safety setup, removing the caliper, replacing pads and rotors, reinstalling everything, and bedding in your new brakes. If you can do this, you can save thousands over the life of your car. If this video helped you, do me 3 favors. 1. Hit that like button. It helps other DIYers find this video and learn this skill. 2. Subscribe if you haven't already. We post money-saving car tips every Tuesday and Friday. 3. Comment below. Tell me what car you just did brakes on or what video you want to see next. Should I cover oil changes, suspension, transmission fluid? You tell me. Next week, I'm showing you how to bleed your brakes. That's if you did get a spongy pedal and need to fix it. You won't want to miss that. And don't forget, Grab the free brake job checklist in the description. It's a printable PDF you can take to your garage so you don't miss any steps. Until next time, stay safe out there and keep your money in your pocket, not the mechanic's. And this is Car Secret Hacks.